Hi, my name is Kelli Pence, and welcome to my session, Setting Up for Success, Creating Virtual Foundations. Thank you for being here. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Music First for allowing me to participate in the Music Ed Tech Conference 2020. Today, what I hope to give you is some ideas and or tools for you to take back to your classroom in what is for certain to be a crazy year, but also tools that you can use in a post-pandemic world. So let's get started. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and the band program where I work, how we came to use Music First, how we incorporate virtual instruction with in-person instruction, other useful virtual platforms that we use, and the benefits we've found from using them. What I really hope to do today is to show you how we incorporate all of these tools. I'm the Associate Director of Bands at Broken Arrow High School. I'm starting my 13th year here. At the high school, we are a 10 through 12 campus, and we have 5 concert bands. I am responsible for conducting 2 of those concert bands while assisting with the other 3. I teach the second concert band, which is Symphonic Band 1, and our 4th band, which is Concert Band 1. I also teach the second jazz band, AP Music Theory, and marching band, which is 100% extracurricular outside of the school day. So incorporating Music First into your daily routine. Music First came to us many years ago when they were beta testing the software. And I'll be honest, we did not dive right in. We took some baby steps getting in there, and fortunately they did not give up on us. And they came and visited us and showed us how we could use it. And we started very slowly, very gradually incorporating Music First into what we do. And I'm so glad that we did. I have absolutely no regrets. The only regret I guess I would say I have is that we didn't jump in sooner, and that it did take us so long to really get going with Music First. But now that we are, it's paid dividends. One benefit, we got so lucky, is that when the pandemic happened and everything shut down and everybody had to go virtual, we were ready. We were ready because our students had already been doing it as part of their daily routine. And so when we went 100% virtual, what had been a supplement to our core curriculum in our ensemble classes became the core curriculum, and then we just had to supplement that. And what we did is we supplemented it with some TED Talks, we supplemented it with discussion questions and challenges and community questions of how they could help their community, because we all know that we don't just teach kids how to play instruments, we teach them how to be better people. And so we did a lot of that, but the playing aspect, the nuts and bolts of it, was taken care of really with Music First. And so we got very lucky that our students didn't have such a difficult time transitioning into the virtual scene that happened. And as we start this school year, as I sit here right now, I have no idea if we will be 100% in person, a hybrid, or 100% virtual. But I'm okay because I know that my students have Music First and they have the other virtual platforms that I'll talk with you about today. And so yes, there's a lot to be nervous about, but we're in a good place, and we're in a good place because of our association with Music First. So we owe a lot to them, and I'm really grateful to them for not giving up on us. There's plenty of software underneath the Music First platform. We use 4 main software programs. Practice First. Practice First is where you will do your method book assignments. You can assign lines from a method book and it will grade it for you. You can assign scales and it will grade it for you. You can also assign just basic recording assignments where you have students record a solo they're working on or some measures from some music that you're working on in class. And there are ways that you can set that up where it will grade it for you. That takes a little bit extra work from you. Or you can just have them submit a recording and you can listen to it and grade it. I prefer to do it that way. And that also allows me to listen to them and provide some feedback on their musical examples. So I like to do that in Practice First. Another software that we use is Sight Reading Factory. Sight Reading Factory is self-explanatory, but there's a lot of different things that it offers. For instance, you can set the parameters for a beginner to a really advanced player. You can set ranges, you can set key signatures, you can set time signatures, number of measures, rhythmic complexity, all of that you can set. You can also set disappearing measures. You can have the measure disappear after it was supposed to have been played. You can also have the measure disappear before it's supposed to be played, so that forcing them to read ahead in the music. I particularly like that. You can use the cursor, you can use the metronome, all kinds of different things. You can also add solfege to the musical example. And I use that all the time in music theory, AP music theory, for sight singing. And that is very helpful with us to prepare those students. And you can also, there's just an unlimited, it will generate an unlimited amount of examples given your parameters. And so it's a great way for students to practice sight reading. And we all know that once you read something, you're not sight reading it anymore. So practicing sight reading is very difficult to find. And this has been really valuable for our students, without a doubt. We also use Aurelia. Aurelia is more for ear training. And my favorite Aurelia assignment is where it will play two pitches, and they might be perfectly the same pitch, or one might be slightly out of tune with the other. It could be 40 cents out of tune. It could be 5 cents out of tune, depending on how you set the parameters. And the student has to identify, is that note in tune with the other, or is the second one sharp or flat? And so it's obvious reasons. It's great for ear training, for ensemble playing. But 40 cents sometimes seems like a lot. And when you listen to those examples, you might think, this isn't worth it. This is obvious. Trust me, you will have students where 40% and they still can't tell the difference. So it's a really great ear training tool and meets the students where they are. And that's one of the things I really love about Music First, is everything can be for the beginner student to the most advanced student. And it meets students where they are. And that's very, very valuable for obvious reasons. We also use Focus on Sound. Focus on Sound for us is a new software that we're using. It's not a new software, it's new to us. Like I said, we've been evolving how we use Music First in our day, and we've added Focus on Sound just recently. What I like about Focus on Sound is that it provides musical examples, or some of the Focus on Sound assignments provide musical examples for the students to listen to. And then it asks some questions about style or form, or what instrument was playing here, or who's the composer, and certain questions like that. But it also has very basic, simple questions, such as fill in this rhythm as played on a snare drum. And it might just be quarter notes and eighth notes. And of course, you can get more complex with that as well. So again, from beginner to advanced, there's questions for everybody in all of these platforms, or all of these softwares under the Music First platform. So those are the 4 that we use on a regular basis, and our students are very comfortable with these 4 softwares. So what's a week look like at Broken Arrow? Well, a typical weekly schedule for us would be, on Monday, we'd have a Focus on Sound assignment and a musictheory.net assignment. I'll talk about that in a little bit. On Wednesday, we would have a Practice First assignment. That would probably be a scale or something from Foundations for Superior Performance, which is included in Music First and Practice First. So it would be graded for us, and they would perform a scale, and an assignment from Sight Reading Factory, which we would have to grade. Friday, we'll do another Practice First assignment. Those are usually play your all-state etude, either a portion of it or all of it, play these measures from class, play your solo for solo and ensemble, whatever that is. Those would be those assignments of Friday, and an Aurelia assignment. And our students have these assignments every week, and they're used to it, and it's what you do. It's kind of like bell work, but not in the classroom. So a lot of times teachers will assign that regularity, little assignments, and these shouldn't really take the students that long. Some of them will take longer than others, but it shouldn't take them that long. So it's kind of like out of school bell work, and they're just used to it. So here's a typical week in my Music First calendar. And again, I can't stress enough that these are the assignments for in-person and virtual learning. So you see the calendar says September 2020. I've already gone ahead and put these assignments in, and I don't know what school's going to look like. But it doesn't matter to me, because no matter what school looks like, these are going to be the assignments for my students. Now, if we're in school, then I get to see my students every day for 45 minutes, and we get to rehearse literature and work on sound and playing and ensemble playing skills and all of those things. They'll still have these assignments outside of class. If we're virtual, they'll have these assignments to do at home, and we will come up with supplemental material to keep them engaged in addition to this. But these assignments exist no matter what the situation is. So let me take you to Music First really quick. So here I am in Music First. Let me go to my class calendar. And you'll see I'm in my Symphonic Band 1 class. We are scheduled as of right now to start school on August 19th. What I will do if we start school on August 19th, at some point during this week, I will take about 20 minutes of class time and I will introduce my students how to log into Music First, how to find their assignments, how to submit their assignments, and do all that. For most of my students, it will be review because they've been doing it from last year. But as we know, students forget, and it's always good to have a refresher on where to go and where to find the assignments and how to log in. So I will do about 20 minutes here. That is the last time, that is the only time that I will take class time to talk about any of these assignments. After that, the assignments are self-explanatory and they should be able to complete them on their own. So it doesn't take any class time. And that is one of the big benefits is you're not giving up class time. You're not giving up your rehearsal time to do any of this. It's very quickly, it's quick to set up once you get it set up. All of these assignments you can copy paste from your favorites list if you make them favorites. If they're assignments you're going to do every single year, you just make it a favorite and you just click and drag into the calendar and the assignment is there. So once you get things set up, it doesn't take a lot of time. For me, I personally am not a technology buff. I am very limited in my technology and I'm fine with that. And I don't like to do things that take me a lot of extra time. And so that was our resistance into joining Music First. But luckily, like I said, they didn't give up on us and we realized this really doesn't take a lot of time and the benefits far outweigh any time spent setting this up. So we had to do it. So anyway, I will spend that time here getting them set up. And then I have one assignment it should be an easy assignment. And it's just kind of a practice, make sure everything works, make sure everybody understands before we hit the ground running the following week. So for this chromatic scale assignment, they would open it in practice first. And since I'm the teacher, I don't have the option to record it, but the students will have a record button right over here. This pulled up automatically for B-flat clarinet, but if I have a different instrument, if I'm playing a different instrument, I can pick that instrument and pull that one up. I can also manipulate the tempo. If I want to play it slower, I can. This is the target tempo that I have set for them at 88, but if they want to play it slower, not recommended to play faster, but if they want to play it slower, they can, and it will grade it for them immediately. They'll see what grade they got, and then they can click submit or they can try again. So what I found is for my overachiever students, this is plenty to keep them busy because they're going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying for that perfection. And for my less than overachiever students, this is difficult enough but easy enough that they can complete with the amount of effort that they're willing to put forth. So again, something for everyone here. Let's go back to our calendar. And you'll see that some of these assignments, these are bold and these are not. The reason for that is these I have made visible already to the students. So if any of my students were to log in right now, they could complete these assignments. These they cannot see because they are not visible to them. I do that for a reason. I don't want some student to spend one weekend and complete all of their assignments for the entire semester. I like to space it out. To me, that would defeat the purpose. I want them to be continually playing, continually doing and redeveloping these skills. So I will make them visible at most a week ahead of time for them to complete. And so it's just an ongoing perpetual process. Now, let's look at a focus on sound assignment. So we open that in focus on sound. I'm going to go to presentation mode. I don't need to edit it. And I'm going to start my test. This test is going to be fill in the missing notes 1. This is the most basic. Test requiring the students to fill in rhythmic or melodic gaps. This one will not have any melodic gaps, but as you get to a more difficult level, you can fill in melodic gaps. So we'll start the test. So here we have start measures here. It's going to be a snare drum. So we won't have to worry about pitch. And we just need to fill in which one of these measures goes right here. Hopefully you can hear this. Hopefully they would click on that and go on to the next question. Continue on, it's the same idea. Once they finish, then they submit their assignment to me, and you can see they already know what their percentage is right there, and they will submit the assignment. If I were to get this wrong, I'm not even sure what it's going to play, but if I were to get it wrong, a red line shows up there and they know that they've already missed one. The goal, obviously, to get everything green. I ask my students to only submit 100% on a test like this, especially with Symphonic Band 1. I like to start the students on an easy assignments so that they get comfortable with the platform, and then we start getting more and more difficult. I don't want them to be turned off immediately. I want them to find it to be easy and something that they can do and that they come back and continue to do for more, and then they don't even realize that it's gotten harder. I do the same thing with sight reading. So let me show you an example of a little bit different focus on sound assignment. This one, again, this is focus on sound. I'm going to go to presentation mode. Here we want to name the instruments. So if we start the test, these teardrops correspond with the questions. So right here, when the music gets here and the cursor gets here, they want to know what is the solo instrument playing at that moment. This will be question 2, 3, 4, and 5. Question 6, they want to know who is the composer. So you'll see that we have multiple choice options here as well as free response. So hopefully you can hear this. So they can wait till it's over, or they can answer in real time, or they could listen to it again. Let's say that they got the first one wrong and they thought the first solo was a bassoon. It'll immediately tell them that no, it was actually a trumpet, but they can't go back and click that it was a trumpet. Or on the free response, let's say that they thought it was a trombone. It will immediately tell them, no, that was a flute. So it's able to grade the free response as well as the multiple choice. And you go through, and like I said, they want to know, who the composer is. So they got it right. It was Copland. A great opportunity for students to identify. Doesn't take a lot of time. And my students just sat and listened to Copland. So I really, really like the focus on sound and the exposure that it gives them on all different limits. Are all different, not limits, but just all different exposure to different music and just the different components, rather, of what they're able to identify, whether it's style, rhythm, pitch, form, all of those things. So let's go back. And we are back to musictheory.net. Musictheory.net we have been using for many years, long before we ever got together with Music First. Musictheory.net has free lessons and quizzes. It also has a paid app, which I encourage you to purchase, that has some more lessons on it. But it's something that we have been using here at Broken Arrow for many years to incorporate in all of our band classes and actually all of our orchestra and choir classes. They all use musictheory.net as a way to supplement theory instruction into our ensemble classes. And I'll just take a second and brag these are my Symphonic Band 1 students from last year. Very proud of them. They were selected to perform at the state convention as well as the National Concert Band Festival on the featured stage last year. So very proud of them. Take a little moment to brag on them. So musictheory.net. Musictheory.net, like I said, it has a lot of lessons and quizzes on it. So it has staff identification, staff construction, keyboard identification, and ear training. So staff identification, what you think it would be, note identification. Here's a note, what is it? Key signature, interval, scale, chord identification. Staff construction is the opposite. They tell you what they want to see and you have to build it. So those two go together on both sides of that lesson. Keyboard identification, they'll give you a note on a staff and they want you to identify where that is on the piano keyboard, or vice versa. They'll give you a note on piano keyboard and they want to know where it is on the staff. I make all of my students do keyboard identification. I don't know if it's the AP theory teacher in me, but I feel it's important that all of my students understand how the music on the staff relates to the piano keyboard. So that is something that all of my students will do. And then ear training. You can do keyboard, note, interval, scale, chord, ear training. And all of these you can do at different levels. Again, you can create quizzes of note identification at a beginner level or an advanced level. So everything can be done at different levels, beginner to advanced or anything in between. So how do we do that? Well, we customize the exercises with customized codes. You can customize the clef. It can be treble clef, bass clef, alto clef, tenor clef, grand staff, all of the above, some of the above, one of the above. It can be any of those. Ranges. You could customize it to where if you only want your students to identify notes that are on the staff, no ledger lines, you could do that. You could do it to where if it's a beginner and they only know 3 notes, you could customize it to where it's only going to generate those 3 notes so they can be quizzed on that. You can do key signatures versus accidentals. Key signatures and accidentals, key signatures or accidentals. It's up to you. I use both. You can customize the number of questions the quiz will have. So if you wanted to have 100 questions, you can have 100. If you want 7, you could have 7, or anything you want. You can customize the number of attempts. I only give my students 1 attempt. The reason for that is I don't want them just clicking and guessing until they get it right. I want them to have to think about it and commit to an answer before they click on it. So I only give my students 1 attempt, but you could do whatever you so choose. And time limits. I do set time limits on these quizzes for my AP theory students. I do not set time limits on these for my band students. It's just something I haven't done yet. It doesn't mean that I won't do that in the future as we get more complex. And then there's many more customizations you can do depending on what the exercise is. So customized codes. Here's some samples of what that would look like. So for note identification, I make my students answer 50 questions on note identification, and I make them get a 50 out of 50. It's important to me that they get 100% on this and that they actually get 100% on all the quizzes that they take from me in musictheory.net. We all know that if we all perform at 98% accuracy, that music's going to sound terrible. So for me, it's important that they understand that 98%, 99% is not good enough. Inevitably, I'll get a student come to me who gets a 49 out of 50 and they'll say, on the 50th question, I knew the answer, but my finger slipped. Will you accept this? Is this okay? And I'm sorry, but no, I will not. Just because if you knew the answer when you were playing your instrument, you knew the fingering, but your finger slipped, it's still going to be the wrong note. So I challenge my students to get 50 out of 50. And for me, it's pass or fail. Obviously, you don't have to do that. That's just how I do that. So these customization codes, I have one for note identification for treble clef, one for bass clef, and one for both clefs. Why do I have that? Well, for my concert band 1, I only require, if you read treble clef on your instrument, that you do note identification on treble clef. And if your instrument reads bass clef, I only require that you identify notes on bass clef for the quiz. If you're in symphonic band 1, I don't care if your instrument reads treble clef, I want you to know both clefs. So symphonic band 1 would have to do both clefs randomly generated in the quiz, whereas concert band 1 only needs to know treble clef if they're a treble clef instrument, or bass clef if they're a bass clef instrument. So I have these codes that I copy and paste into their assignments depending on the difficulty level. Same thing with interval identification. Interval identification, I only make them do 30 questions. It's just what I've done. You figure out the rhyme or reason to it. Each one I have a little bit different, but interval identification, I only make them do 30. If you're in concert band 1, you only need to know the quantity. You only need to be able to tell me that's a third, or that's a seventh, or that's a sixth. You don't have to tell me the quality. You only have to tell me the quantity. Now, why does it matter if it's treble clef or bass clef? It doesn't, but I just do that for their comfortability. If you're symphonic band 1, I want you to know the quality. I want to know, is that a minor third, or is that a perfect fourth, or a diminished fifth? And I want you to know it on both clefs. So symphonic band 1 has a little bit higher degree of difficulty than concert band 1 would have. And I have all of these codes for all of those exercises copied onto a document, so that all I have to do at the beginning of each year is copy paste these codes into their assignments, and then they're already there. The customization is already done. I don't have to do that from year to year. So it's very easy for me to just regenerate these assignments. Now, if you're in the high school band for 3 years, 10 through 12, are you doing these assignments over and over again? Yes. Hopefully, if you're in concert band 1 this year, maybe you'll be in symphonic band 1 next year, so your assignments got a little bit harder. But maybe you made the wind ensemble as a sophomore, and you're in the wind ensemble for sophomore, junior, and senior year. You're going to be doing the same customized assignments. Obviously, the assignment, because it's randomly generated, won't be the exact same questions, but it'll be the same parameters. The idea being you're just getting more and more practice and reinforcement throughout all of that. So if you click on one of these codes, something like this would show up. So this is a note identification code. It's in challenge mode. I've set the challenge, and the student just clicks on Start Challenge. Once the student clicks on Start Challenge, it'll bring up the first question. I've chosen to use key signatures and accidentals, and my students would have one attempt to correctly identify that note. Now, if they get to question 17 and they make a mistake, they don't have to go all the way to 50 before they can start over. They can X out of it and restart a new challenge. They just don't get unlimited attempts to correctly identify that as a G sharp. They get unlimited attempts to correctly get 50 out of 50, but not to identify a specific note. So that's just how I have it set up. You could do it differently, and that's the beauty of these customizations. So again, you can create those customized codes for all of these, and you'll do that over here for teachers under the exercise customizer. It takes a little bit of time to generate each one of those codes, but like I said, once you do it, you have them for life. So for me, it was definitely worth it several years ago when we did that. Now, once the student achieves a 50 out of 50 for me, the musictheory.net will generate a verification code. They submit the verification code to me, and that will take me to the code checker. It's a link that will take me to the code checker. The code checker tells me multiple things. One, the verification code can only be paired with one name. So students can't share a verification code. It only has one name associated with it. So I can check and make sure that it is the correct student. I can also check and make sure that they used my parameters. It shows me what the parameters were for the quiz they took. So they can't go in and change any of the parameters, making it easier for them. It also shows me how long they spent on the quiz. Since I don't have it as a timed quiz, it'll show me how much time they spent. If I did have it as a timed quiz, it'll still show me, they got it done with 2 seconds to spare or whatever it is. I like seeing that, especially when I have a student come to me and say, I've spent forever on this and I still don't get it. And then I look and they spent a minute trying to answer 50 questions. Clearly they're just clicking and then, coming to you saying they don't understand. So there's a little bit more to the story there for you to uncover, but I like having the information. So all of that is there, and that's musictheory.net. Now, Music Professor. Music Professor is a new platform that we have not used here at Broken Arrow yet. And under normal circumstances, I would never recommend something that I have not used. However, we are in different circumstances in a different world right now. And I think it's important to just show this to you and let you discover what you think of it and whether or not you think it might be useful for you to use. I thought it would be helpful to show it to you, especially for beginners. I've heard from a lot of teachers anxious about this year, about what are they going to do with their beginners, about nervous about having them play in front of them, and how are they going to get them started, and are we going to lose an entire year of instruction for beginners, and what is that going to look like? I've heard other teachers, they have plans of how they're going to do rhythms and clapping and play hand drums or percussive instruments that can be cleaned easily, but they're still concerned about the students wanting, and their desire to play that clarinet that they've been waiting to play, or the trumpet, or whatever instrument they're starting. So I think Music Professor could not be a solution, but could certainly help us this year for sure. Broken Arrow will be using Music Professor this year. But like I said, I've only explored it on my own. I have not used it with students. So let me just put that out there, but I did want to introduce you to it. So Music Professor is taught by professors for all of the instruments except for string. As far as I know, there are not string lessons in there. I could be wrong, but there are all of the wind instruments and percussion. There's also a music theory class taught by a professor that I actually did a AP Music Theory Summer Institute this summer, and the same professor is teaching the class on Music Professor that I studied with. So that's good. I highly recommend him. He was fantastic. And there's a conducting class for you as a conductor. So for you to explore, but all the wind instruments, percussion, music theory, and conducting are on there. And they're there in beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels. So let's look at beginner saxophone. Just chose saxophone just because I happen to be a saxophonist, but they're there for all instruments. So here would be the coursework for the beginning saxophone. You'll see it at the top, you download the music. So it's kind of the method book that the instructor will be using the entire time. It's very similar to any other beginning band method book. You start one note at a time, introducing notes, but it's just music for them to be able to play with the professor. This is one-way instruction. It by no means is a substitute for two-way instruction, but I think it's good. I hesitate to endorse something I haven't used, but I am very intrigued and excited for us to use it this year and how you could use it. You'll see that there are 9 lessons there. There are also drop-down menus. So under each lesson, there are multiple videos. It could be anywhere from 3 videos to 9 videos to more videos, all about that topic. So lesson 1 would be intro to saxophone. That's going to have stuff like how to put the saxophone together, how to sit with the saxophone, how to put the reed on, how to do all of those things, how to take the instrument apart, all those basic things. You'll have videos on from a saxophone professor about all of those things, and from a professor of all the other instruments for those things. And you'll see embouchure, reading music, slurring and tonguing, crossing the break, 3/4 time, octave key, eighth notes, articulation, and whatnot. And there are all these videos under there. What I would suggest is doing sort of a reverse classroom, and your administrators will love that, where you can either watch the videos in class with your students and have your students go home and do the playing assignments together, or you can introduce things. This works similar to Music First in that you purchase it by the desk in a subscription. So each student would have access to their course. And you could, talk about things in class. You could also talk about hand position. You could talk about posture. You could talk about fingerings and note names and reading music and singing or saying the notes. I guess singing might be a little problematic right now, but maybe saying notes, fingers, and then at home they go and play with the video. And then at the end of the week, maybe you do a playing assignment from the companion book that they've downloaded, and they submit that on the Music First, Practice First platform. And so that you can use all of these integrated together. And that's kind of how I foresee us using it this year. Again, we're still working on it, but I did feel it was important to share this with you on what you could do. So many different options. I also see if you're a one-man show and you have to teach all the beginners by yourself, maybe there's an instrument or two that you're just not particularly comfortable with. This would be a great idea and a great way for either you to take the lessons as the student or for you to use to help you teach your students. So again, I don't think it replaces in-person instruction, but I think it can be a great supplement for us through all of this. Now, it's not just for beginners. They have beginning saxophone, they have intermediate saxophone, and again, they have all the instruments. I'm just using saxophone as an example. Here's the intermediate saxophone. Again, you download the companion book, which is the music that they will be using as examples as you play along with the professor. Different concepts. And again, under each lesson, there's a drop-down menu of mini videos throughout all of that. And then a Saxophone Pro series, so more advanced information throughout that. They also have for each instrument intermediate solos and advanced solos. From what I've seen, the intermediate solos are more, or the intermediate and advanced solos, they're legit etudes. Think of Voxman or Fairling type etudes, and the professor will perform the entire etude, and then they will break it down into its sections, talking about specific issues in each section and how to tackle those, and then they'll put it back together and you play along with them throughout the lessons. So I think it's going to be very, very valuable. This is new to us, and it's something that we're excited to add. We started with musictheory.net as being the only virtual thing that we did years ago, the only online type of resource that we used. Then we added Music First, but just very, very gradually, and it's become part of our curriculum now, and we're very glad about that. And now this year we're adding Music Professor, and I don't think it's too much. I really don't. If you're thinking right now, this is too much, do they ever teach? Again, this is 100% for our students when they're not with us. What we do when they're with us is completely different than all of this stuff. This is a supplement to what we do. But in these times, this could be the curriculum if we have to be virtual. So we're excited about this. And again, I like everything that I've talked to you about, whether it's Music First, musictheory.net, or Music Professor. It's for all levels from beginner to advanced. And so I like that it can work for all of our students across the board, and something that they can use for their entire time that they are with us. So what is your wish list? This is, I would challenge you to answer this question, because this year we have been asking that. What is your wish list? What is your wish list? And once we started answering that question, we became excited about this year. We became really excited about the possibilities of what we could do. As performance-based teachers, we teach performance-based classes. Sometimes it feels like you're always just moving toward the next performance, from one performance to the next performance, just trying to get it done. And things fall through the cracks. And they fall through the cracks, but you just can't stop to get them. This year, we're going after them. Everything that we wish we had time to do, we're going to try and accomplish this year. That has nothing to do with performance, and everything to do with improving the individual, not only as a player, but as an overall musician. And I think all of these online platforms are going to help us get there for sure. And we're being forced to get out of our comfort zone and forced to get out of our routine. And we're excited about it. We are excited about it. And I'm not making this up and exaggerating when I tell you that here at Broken Arrow, we see this year as a gift. We see this year as a gift to grow exponentially in ways that we never would have if we weren't given this gift. So yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of questions that we just can't answer, but we are trying to take control over what we can control and feel like we're empowered in that way. And we're excited about what we can do with our students and where we can take them. We've had limited interaction with our students and we've been able to talk to them, and they're excited too. Their wheels started turning as soon as we started talking about all the things that we want to do that we never had time for. And so they've started thinking about things they've always wanted to do but couldn't do, within the parameters of ensemble or small ensemble or individuals. And so they're coming to us with ideas, and it's a full-on collaboration between us and the students this year, and we're really excited. And it all started with us asking, what is your wish list? So I would encourage you to answer that, start writing down what your wish list is, and see how you can't make that happen when the pressure of competition or the pressure of performance is taken away, and we can get back just to music education in its most basic form. And I'm excited to do that with my students. I hope that you are. I would encourage you for all of this. I'll leave you with one story. There was a school who used Music First, and they used Music First only because we did. And I know these people, and I know that's why they did it. But they weren't any more invested into it than that. And so at the first sign of trouble, they got frustrated. And so their students got frustrated, and they didn't even make it one semester before they quit using it. And if you don't believe what you're doing, if you don't believe in the online tools that you're using, if you're not excited about them, the students won't get excited about them either. And that's what happened. Now, all of this is technology, and sometimes technology fails, and you have to be prepared for that. Technology failed, they got frustrated, students got frustrated, and that was it. They were out. And so I feel sorry for them because they didn't get the benefits that we have seen. We have seen our students become more confident performers. We've definitely seen our students become more confident readers. And that is a tribute right to Sight Reading Factory and Music First. And we are so grateful for that. But if you don't believe it, then it's not going to work. So I encourage you to find something that you can get excited about. Find your wish list, make it your own. Hopefully you're able to use one or all of these platforms to help you in your year and in your and beyond. Because like I said, we will be using these. We were using them pre-pandemic. We will be using them post-pandemic as supplements. And then I think our students grow from them, and we can't afford not to use them. They're so valuable in our students' educations. So, it is technology. My experience with Music First is that when there is a problem, they are very quick to fix it. So I've been very pleased on our end with the support and the help. But it is technology, and there will be issues, and there will be things that happen, and not everything is going to work 100% all the time. So as long as you're prepared for that and okay with that, I think it'll be a really exciting year for you. And I hope that I've been helpful to you. I hope maybe I've provided you with an idea or two. And if you'd like to contact me, my email is on the screen. Any questions or comments that you might have, I'd be happy to discuss anything or hear any ideas that you have. If you want to give me ideas, I'd be happy to hear them. So my email is on the screen. I thank you for attending today, and best of luck in your year.